Hello and welcome to this edition of First the Citizens. My name is Jacob Beyeru, and today on First the Citizens, we are discussing a topic that is very important to many a young person in this country. The Youth Manifesto was adopted in 2016 by a coalition of civil society, government agency, and many stakeholders. What we are discussing today is the question of whether that mandate given to this government was met by all the government actors in regard to the demands the young people put out. But we are also discussing whether the young people will want to change that mandate going up to the 2021 election. To help us understand this, we are with Honorable Akelo Judith Franca, the District Woman Member of Parliament, the District Woman Representative for Agago District. A very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. I greet you all. Good afternoon.
We are also with Miss Theopista Kiza. I don't know if I get that right. Is it Miss or Mrs.?
It's Miss.
All right. Miss Theopista Kiza, the Program Coordinator, African Youth Development Link. You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you so very much, Jacob, and I'm glad to be here. Good afternoon.
All right. So the best place to start is to remind all of us of where the Youth Manifesto started and what exactly it entailed. Priska Theopista, if you'll forgive me, was a major part of that process. Would you tell us what exactly was in this document and what were young people looking up to?
Okay, thank you so much, Jacob. If I'm to talk about the National Youth Manifesto, it didn't just start with 2016 to 2021. We started way back in 2011, so we've been having manifestos since 2011, and each and every time it's been a learning process for us. And it's been a very wonderful experience, and it gets better and better. So when he talks about the one for 2016, that is for our discussion today, here is a copy. This is how it looks like, and we call it a social contract between Young Ugandans and also the government of Uganda. So where it came from is that usually, like most of you know, is that when your political leaders want to contest, they will always come with their manifesto and tell you what they will want to do for you. But then definitely, as young people, we just realized that we know what we want better than they do. So we're like, why not work something around ourselves? Why not consult the young people? Why don't we get their voices? Why don't we involve young people from across the spectrum in all the local governments and ensure that we capture their voices and be able to put it in a document, and then we use that to give these people, we tell them this is what we want. Don't tell us what you want to do for us, but this is what we want to do for you. So that's the history.
I think that the general public agrees that government has researchers, government has people that, create these policies. Why is it important that young people themselves have their issues raised by them?
Okay, right. And most of you have seen what government has been doing. Most of the time, they sit in their offices because they have the technical experts. They will put together these documents. But most of the time, they just think at their level of understanding. But when you get down to a young person, there is always how the young people want to benefit from their government. So it's always important for us to give young people a platform for them to speak for themselves, because they know what they want better than any other person. So that is where we come from.
We gather there were 5 areas that were the focus for this turn of office. What were those 5 areas?
So the focus areas, number one, and one of the major priorities was youth employment. And we even called it jobs, 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 because that was the order of the day. We see a lot of young people get out of universities, get out of institutions, but they can hardly find an employment. They can hardly find opportunities to start enterprises. So our focus was on that as the first priority. Then healthcare for all. Okay, it is fine. Our government provides healthcare services, but there are special healthcare needs for the young people that are different from all other people. So that was number 2. And then we focused on education, because if we go wrong with education, definitely we will have to suffer in the end when we want to look for jobs or when we want to start jobs, if the education is not providing us opportunities and the skills we want. And then another critical area was sports and the creative arts industry. This is an industry that entirely employs young people. First of all, it's important for talent development. Then secondly, it keeps you fit and healthy as a young person. But then also, most importantly, it is an income generating activity. If you look around, the musicians and the people that are making films, people that are doing creative businesses, they are earning a lot from it, and it is providing employment, but it is something that we have not tapped into as a country. So it is one of the thematic areas. And then lastly, we focused on youth participation in decision making, because we felt like our voices were not still being heard. Our voices were not making impact. We were not doing that much in terms of us influencing government programs on our behalf. So those are the 5 thematic areas.
All right, let me turn to you, Honorable. The insistence by the young people is that they have 5 issues which take them through tenure of parliament, if you like, of the presidency. As a member of parliament, do you feel that these were the issues that needed to be represented for young people, or do you feel there were some other issues that they left out coming up from a leadership point of view?
Thank you very much, Jacob and Theopista, for the elaborate putting across of what the young people really wanted in this term of parliament. Indeed, Jacob, I want to confirm that what Theopista has said is true, because in the process of making this manifesto, they engaged the leadership as well. They engaged members of parliament and leaders at various levels to ensure that this message goes down to the lowest level of leadership. By producing a copy of such like this, it's already a clear indication they really were serious and wanted their matters handled. Okay. And so, as a member of parliament as well, during my campaigns, I usually get a lot of views from the young people. So to confirm that these thematic areas are really true, I would like to testify that during the campaigns of 2016-2017, I personally encountered young people actually expressing their areas of interest in what they really want government to do in the 5 years.
Yes, Honorable. It's important to understand, and it's good that you come from a point of the campaign included these voices. But as a member of parliament, you had a tenure within which then you could have had this advanced. How did the Youth Manifesto, in your opinion, advance through the legislative agenda of this term of parliament? Are there specific laws? Did you, in a way, give it more consideration? Did anyone table issues around it? That's what we want to know.
In terms of laws, there are some laws that are really related to what the young people wanted in this term of parliament. I am so happy to register that recently we have just passed a law, a bill that focused on the minimum, there was an issue around jobs. Yes. So we thought it was also important for them to have a legislation on the minimum wage.
Yes.
And that voice was actually mainly coming from the young people. Okay. So Parliament actually introduced a private member's bill towards having a law passed or a bill passed in that regard to protect the young people who would get simple jobs here and there. Because most young people get out of university, out of education, and they go out there to look for whatever they are able to earn from. So if that area is not protected, normally people will exploit the young people being fresh from the university or fresh from wherever they are coming from. They do not really have a lot, in mind of what they would want to ask of their new job. So it would have them guarded in that area in terms of legislation. So we introduced a bill. Unfortunately, still, somewhere they are being frustrated a little bit at cabinet level. But Parliament had, goodwill, and we had started the process. We have also passed a law on the local content.
Okay.
That one was passed recently. Local content means whenever an investor would like to invest in Uganda, they must have a certain percentage of people employed from within Uganda.
Okay, so this feeds into the jobs that the
young people
want.
would want to get jobs, and these jobs are only available in those areas of you know, investments that would come in the country. So that bill alone takes good care of the first you know, the first thematic area of the young people.
Great.
Among others, actually there are some other key activities government is carrying out, except of course they have issues here and there. I would cite issues of youth livelihood program. There's a recent one which has just been introduced. It's still being processed, the Emyoga. You know, all these are areas focused in trying to handle issues of interest in terms of job provision to the young people. I know that these are areas that have a lot of challenges, because I, as a chairperson of public accounts local government, we traverse the country trying to assess how this youth livelihood program is benefiting the young people. We found a lot of challenges. Testimonies came from young people through radios and from our interactions with them. It really clearly indicates that the young people are interested in getting themselves to work. And whatever government wants to put across with them, they are always willing to take up.
Let me get back to Teopista here. The Honorable says government is making an effort. And I want to throw it to you now. Do you feel that government is actually making an effort that is worth saying or calling one that represents the aspirations of young people in education, in health, in these areas that you people prioritize? Okay.
First of all, I need to give some credit and appreciate government for what they've done so far. The Honorable has talked about the local content policy, and that is actually like issue number one when it comes to employment. And if you look at that bill, it was passed recently by Parliament. We await for Cabinet to assent. So this bill is provides for kind of like a reservation of kind of like 40% of procurement contracts to citizens, to young Ugandans. So this is an opportunity for young people to tap into, but definitely it comes at a cost looking at a context. If you look at the young people within our country, if we are to tap into that, then we need to be highly organized, because still it will be competitive. So you won't just go there if your company is not well registered, if it is not well instituted. So definitely it won't go through. So we still have a long way to go if we are to tap into that.
Where does that leave the bill itself? Because if the bill is guaranteeing 40% entry, but the young people do not have that skill, they do not have that organization, what do? Do we keep the 40% from working, or we just go back abroad?
Definitely, we will have to go and do a lot about it. We need to organize young people, we need to skill them, and we need to tap into the opportunities. You know, there are some opportunities for us to skill young people, but I think government is slow. If I can first go back to the question that you asked me, whether government has done progress, we are seeing that in terms of policy, it is doing so very well. But in terms of the actualization and implementation of these policies, this is where we get it wrong. So we have this passed, but then definitely the glitches within implementation will definitely not favor young people. A lot of bureaucracies, for example, if you're to register your business or your company, there is a lot of bureaucracy, corruption in there. So that is what keeps young people away from that. She also talked about the minimum wage. Okay, the minimum wage is also one of the issues that young people demanded, because they felt that they were being exploited by the employers. They are paid so less. We are talking about unemployment, but then underemployment is also another serious problem. Young people are paid peanuts. It cannot afford them kind of like a decent standard of living, especially if you look at the context of Uganda.
So was there a proposition for a minimum wage of a particular value?
No, we did not. We did not propose, but we felt like there should be a minimum wage that should provide a decent living for a person.
And if the employers can't pay the minimum wage because of economic challenges in Uganda, what then happens? Do they not employ the young people?
No, if you actually go and look at what Parliament passed, it provides for example, for institution of a board, of a wage board.
Yes.
And this board would try to do an assessment of the sectors. For example, they would look at maybe the oil and gas sector,
yes,
and be like, okay, this is how this sector is faring. So if we are to set a minimum wage, then it should be at this amount of money that is favorable for the both of them.
Okay.
So we look forward to that.
All right, thank you. Let me run back to you before we head in for this break. Honorable, the understanding that government has done some performance and parliament has done some performance should come with some clapping from young people. Why are young people still insistent that on many times and occasions, this parliament is not handling their agenda, this government is not handling their agenda, as someone that sits on accountability committee of parliament?
You see, like the Opista has put very clearly, the issue of actual implementation of government programs,
yes,
policies and laws that are passed by parliament is what is shrinking all these, developments that come especially from the laws that we pass.
So you're saying parliament has performed very well?
So we perform, we really try our best. I really don't want to, it's not that I am there, but let me tell you, each and every member of parliament that represents Ugandans of this country are very passionate about the issues of the plight of the young people. And you are able to see that manifest in the way they speak.
Yes.
And you know that parliament also has representation of the young people. Youth members of parliament, time and again, come up with proposals of what to do for the young people. So whenever parliament passes a law,
yes,
of course you pass the law, that is your part. The other part of implementation is not ours as well. However, parliament comes in towards another, towards some end of implementation in terms of oversight, in terms of going to see and find out whether really what the policies we have put in place have been implemented and how, whether there is value for money or whether the implementation was really to the standard expected by the young people. And that's why in the beginning of my, my talk, I said in the field as we moved as Public Accounts Committee of Local Governments, because most of these programs of youth livelihood,
yes,
the women entrepreneurship programs, the monies that are sent to the districts and so on, they focus on not only, like the WEP program doesn't focus necessarily on only women, but within the women, there are young women. So within the young people, within the women groups, there are also young women. So we look at that and see how the monies that government puts in these programs. For instance, you'll go to a district and you'll find, like, for instance, in a financial year, over 500 million shillings was injected for the youth livelihood program. Jacob, tell me whether 500 million shillings in just a district wouldn't do anything for the young people.
Has it done anything?
The young people would, because the guidelines are there, everything is clear. The challenges young people have been facing and are still going to face tomorrow unless they are rectified, is that whenever they want to fill the forms to try to access this money, there are blockades, along their way. You will find these officers that are supposed to facilitate their way of getting the process of getting the money. They also want to fix themselves to become young people in terms of becoming beneficiaries of the same. So in the process,
so
I'll give you examples. I will give you, I'll give you examples. When we were in Gulu, I was on Radio Mega. A young person called and said, "Honorable members, we want you to come down and we young people interface with you so that we tell you the problems." For instance, I, for one, am a leader of one of the young people. We requested from the youth livelihood money, we requested 11 million shillings, but we actually received 4 million shillings instead of 11. Where is the other 7 million shillings went to the CDO.
So, Honorable, you're saying
and yet,
that
at the end of the day, the young people are expected to pay back 11 million plus interest.
Honorable, so you're saying that as it stands, you do not have access to the people that want to access you to report this?
No. I mean the young people who expressed interest in having us to go down to them.
Okay.
Because the mode of our work, the methodology was that we meet the technical people.
Yes.
We hear from them in terms of what they are delivering, how they are delivering the services to the people. And then we select a few of such groups and interface with.
All right.
So a young person on Mega FM called and said, we want you to sample out some of our groups.
Okay, thank you.
Which we actually did as a representative
Thank you, Honorable. If you're watching us, this is First the Citizens, and we are coming back after this break. And when we come back, young people like the one that called the Honorable while on radio will be asking questions live here. We'll return shortly. Welcome back to this edition of First the Citizens. And on this edition, we are talking a lot about the Youth Manifesto, that is what young people are using to hold their government accountable for 2016 through 2021. What you will notice is that the young people of this country are very particular with what they want. They know there are 5 areas and they want accountability. It is this discussion that we're having. Before we went for the break, we noticed that the young people were actually a voice that wanted to always participate. The Honorable Member here was able to tell us that someone in the district of Gulu called in a radio talk show where she was and expressed fatigue and a lot of remorse for what he called an unfair process in accessing some of the funds that are guaranteed by the mandate of this manifesto. We are now going to hear from more young people in our socially distanced audience because of the times, so we can be able to just have questions. But you can keep your questions coming in through our Facebook page, and we shall be able to also pick on those. That's Face the Citizens on Facebook. So let's take some questions now. If you'll just show up your hand so we can have your question and comment, please. Let's start with the lady in the second row.
Thank you. My name is Amonya Venda. I have a question. And does the manifesto favor people with disabilities? That is the first question. And my second question is, let's say someone is fresh from the university and...
Just keep talking.
Okay. Let's say someone is fresh from the university and the person has seen a job advert. The person is looking for a job. He or she wants to be employed, but the experience in the job description is either 5 years of experience, 6 years. How can the fresh graduate get a job when he or she does not have the experience? Thank you.
Thank you for those questions.
Hello once again. My name is Bwani Kabali Felix. I am an actor, filmmaker, an entertainer, everything. So, first and foremost, I have several questions. Judging on the sector that the lady talked of, you said it has been around for quite some time, right? For quite some time. How come
for 5 years?
5 years.
Yes.
How comes some of us we don't know it? That's the first question. How comes, actually this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Secondly, you talked about entertainment sector, like you trying to the sector is trying to promote the entertainment sector. How have you tried to promote the entertainment sector? Yet when you go at Makerere, where there is the MDD department, which is being changed almost every day, they change the name, it is still underdeveloped. To a certain point, that department that should be noticed, because it is the only department that sells Uganda, that sells the country as far as it's concerned. The department looks like a toilet.
Okay. Just to hold with you there. forgetting what it looks like, in your opinion,
No.
do you think that the changing of name is also a problem? They should keep one name. Do you think that would then help
They
with
should,
what you want?
if at first it was MDD.
Okay, the Department of Music, Dance and Drama.
And drama.
Okay.
Now it is changed to the Department of Film, Performing Arts and Drama, which is okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Performing Arts and Film,
Yeah.
which is okay. But if you're to change a name, why don't you change also the constructions?
Okay.
Why don't you change also the department, build the theater? Because trust me, since I'm not a student of MDD, I'm just a plumber, but I'm a performer. Through love,
All right.
I've managed to pave my way.
Okay.
But then, how will I inspire other people to join me? Yet when they come to Makerere or other schools that try to
match up,
to do mediocre work of teaching.
Okay.
Teaching the performing arts and film, yet we don't have the constructions.
All right.
We don't have sectors that help us boost the entertainment world.
All right. Thank you.
The National Theatre, I'm still going on.
Finally, yes.
The National Theatre, back then, it was going to be sold. So how are you going to develop the entertainment sector when all the things that we are trying to promote people's talents are being sold at? Back then, there used to be theaters in every district, in every town. Now we only have one theater.
All right.
One special theater.
Thank you so much. Let's take another question. And I appreciate that your input is in its multitude. But let's take another question.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Asimo Helena, and I have two questions.
Okay.
The first question is about the first priority, and that is youth employment. Since 2016, or even since 2011, youth employment is still a problem. And this is in terms of discrimination and favor. Some people, even without qualifications, are given jobs easily, but us with qualifications are not given jobs because we have no connections. Then the second question goes to Honorable Franca, that why doesn't the government entirely involve itself in policy implementation instead of designing the policies and then come in at the end? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's come and get started with it. And I would like to start with Utopista. The concern is that it seems like your manifesto is not inclusive. There are no persons with disabilities caters for. Did you feel like this is true, or is it just a misrepresentation?
Thank you very much, and thank you for that question. The Youth Manifesto is actually youth with disability inclusive. It is right from the word go. And for that, we worked through what was then called Nudipu Youth. We did not work with the bigger Nudipu, but Nudipu Youth was actually very active in the formulation of the manifesto. And when you read the manifesto, there are issues in there specifically for youth with disability in each and every thematic area. So we made sure that we had them included in each and every thematic area. Okay. And I don't know, do I answer that or I answer?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. And then another one was about job experience.
Yes.
For fresh graduates. They are asked for experience. So how we catered for that in here, because it also came as an issue, is that there is a demand in here for a skilling program, kind of a skilling scheme. We call it an internship scheme, a voluntary and internship scheme for young people. So we told government that young people would need that if they are to transition from graduation into the job market, because we felt there was a skills gap in there. But then what has been done so far was just a bit of a UNDP, I think, sponsored a program, a volunteer scheme program. Okay. And that program, I think, has been benefiting around 500 people, young people, but that is still so small. So government hasn't still done a lot in terms of that. And then, how come it's not known by young people? Okay, for the National Youth Manifesto, I cannot guarantee that all young people within Uganda know about it. But it is a document that is accessed. It's actually on websites of youth organization. Copies were distributed, yeah, donors printed copies and even smaller copies and distributed. And actually, when we launched this manifesto, I think this is the manifesto, we were funded by Twaweza, and we would hold live TV debates on NTV. Okay. So this was widely spread because we could get feedback from as far as Karamoja. So young people had access to this, but the fact is that not all of them have access to it.
All
but
those
you can
who
still
don't
access
have
it.
TV did not access it.
But we distributed copies too.
Okay.
Yeah, we distributed copies too. But you can still access it on our websites. We can also give you a copy.
Okay. Let me come to you, Honorable. There is a necessity for knowledge by Felix, and he says that he's a performing artist, and there is a semblance of work that we look like we are saying, we look like we are attempting to do, but where we train these people to acquire these skills, there are no buildings. You go to Makerere MDD department and there are only trees. He's saying that the National Theatre was almost sold, yet we are claiming that we are protecting and advancing an agenda that celebrates these performances. What do you say about these things?
I really want to agree with him and the majority of young people out there who really feel they are not getting enough of what government should have done to provide these facilities for them to perform or to develop their interest in art. When you look at some of you could have been following issues around Normal Gallery, for example. You know the people who are owning Normal Gallery.
We don't know. You might want to tell us.
Who are supposed to not to have owned because it belongs to Uganda.
Okay.
National Theatre. All these other theatres of Uganda are no longer for Uganda. So it's really true. The sentiments of the young people is true. If only, the voices of the people could be heard. And I'm sure some of you who follow Parliament very keenly, you could have heard us talk about National Theatre, the state at which it is, the Normal Gallery, and others.
Yes.
Actually, some people who are big people, I would say,
Honorable, you have begun to use this language that we don't understand. There are big people.
Yes,
people,
I know.
We know people
I am
who
also big, but you see, I am saying we big people. Okay. We big people
so
are
you are
the ones
included as MPs.
Poaching, if I may use, for lack of better words, maybe.
Okay.
But instead of us focusing on things that will facilitating young people.
Yes.
To exercise their rights in using these facilities. Instead, we find ourselves there making it our own properties, our own things, and making business out of it.
All right.
So I want to agree with him. I am also a former student of Makerere University. I remember we used to tease one of my colleagues. I will not mention her name here, but I remember we used to tease her because she was doing MDD.
Okay.
And the MDD was only active around the time when there was a cultural gala. That's when we would go there, that everybody exercises there. For me, I would enjoy my actually dance and so on. That's when we would see the importance of what? Of MDD. Okay. And then this sister of mine, my OG, with whom I went to the same class, actually, same school in Sacred Heart in Gulu. She really came with her heart, really, because she was someone very interested in doing MDD. But when she came to Makerere, she was so frustrated.
So, Honorable.
So, I really want to share with the young people their sentiments.
So, Honorable, as someone in power, with some power,
in Parliament,
what are you, because yours cannot be to lament. Your friend needs help and you're in the power position.
You see, lamentation is also part of the work of a member of Parliament.
Okay.
If you don't know, because the role of a member of Parliament
is to lament
is to represent.
Okay.
So representing, how will you represent your people without presenting their issue? And presenting their issue will appear lamentation.
Okay.
So I therefore would like to say the Constitution recognizes lamentation as a role of a member of Parliament.
Thank
so we have time and again talked about these things. We want to see government improving. And when we say government, of course, Parliament is also government. Judiciary is government. And the executive is government. But the people who make the first decision, who implement the decisions of the people of Uganda,
Yes.
that's the one we normally refer to as government. That is the cabinet.
Yes.
So unless we begin to focus on making sure that institutions of this country work, we are going to do everything, including having the best design of policies, the best laws like we have. We actually have countries across the world coming to benchmark on the policies of Uganda. They go there, back to their the most immediate one is here, Kenya.
Yeah.
They came and benchmarked on us on issues of education. They went and they are now implementing. They are very okay.
All right.
You know, that's just to cite an example.
So we are a study area now.
I want to join the young people in first re-echoing their voice to government.
Yes.
That please, government, listen to the young people. Because they are the majority of Uganda.
Yes.
So we must make sure that we ensure the institutions of government work, the institutions of education, institutions of health. You wouldn't hear young people saying, we don't access what? Health facilities, if our institutions of health were working so well.
Okay.
So that's where I want to really join the young people.
Honorable, I'll stop you there so I can run to Teopista before we break up this session. There was a question that had to do with the recurrence of some of these issues. Youth employment is now a song for legionnaires. There is an issue with nepotism. There's an issue with the health in this country. Are you not just systematically repackaging language as young people to just say the same things the opposition is saying, the mothers are saying with maternal health, and don't you get tired of such things that are never addressed? Okay,
thank you, Jacob, and thank you, Helena, and the other people in the audience for this question. We cannot stop, yeah? We cannot stop and allow, government to sit on us as though we don't exist. Because if we keep quiet, then we are just killing the future of this country, yes? So we will keep re-echoing these issues until government gets to hear us. In the first place is that, there are some small gains, but also the unfortunate bit is our character as young people also. I think we are slow at uptaking some of these things. Let me give an example of now that the local content policy is out.
Yes.
So if we don't get into action as young people to try to benefit from it, then we will lose out on those opportunities. Then government will use that as an opportunity to maneuver around and get along with it. So I'm using this opportunity to mobilize all young people across the country. You cannot leave this work to just a few people, a few of us.
All right.
And then secondly, if you come in and you want us to speak with one voice, because if we speak as a few, then definitely we won't get that far. But if we speak as masses, remember we make the majority in this country, but our voices are not being heard just because we are leaving these things of activism and advocacy to just a few people. So I encourage you to join us so that we speak with one voice and try to advocate for what belongs to us.
Okay, thank you. You've called them small gains.
Kinda,
when we come back, we will be discussing those small gains and whether in fact they represent the size that is coming off in this panel. We'll be coming back shortly with First the Citizen. Stay here as we talk the Youth Manifesto. Welcome back to this edition of First the Citizens with a very socially distanced audience because of the times. We're talking the Youth Manifesto and how exactly that has impacted young people between 2016 to 2021. Yes. And then we're also talking the way forward on what young people now want, how they view the future with governance in this country. We were with you, Teopista, and you were telling us there were some gains. Let's start with Jimmy Mugerwa's question on Facebook, and he is asking, how can a young person participate? If you're saying there are gains, and yet there was youth participation as an intention, how can a young person be asking how to participate? But secondly, of course, you could help Jimmy and tell him how he will participate.
Okay, so I think Jimmy is asking about participation in the manifesto process.
Yes.
Yes, so how you can participate in the manifesto process is, okay, this one is coming to an end, but we have a new one in offing, but we had issues, you know, what is happening with COVID-19, so we had to do it scientifically. So currently what we are doing is we are consulting nationwide in the districts and also at the national level. So we are using online platforms. We have a survey tool that we distribute on our social media pages. If you go to the different organizations, youth organizations that we work with.
Yes.
But then also we are making phone calls. We have teams of young people who are making phone calls across all the regions in Uganda, trying to bring in the issues of young people.
If I have my issues and I want to come to you,
yes.
How do I come to you and where do I go?
Now, where you go is that we have a page for the Youth Coalition on Electoral Democracy.
Okay.
But then also, personally, I think I can share my contact at a certain point because I'm still coordinating the process. So you can get me on 0775 07
okay.
4251. So that's my WhatsApp number. So you can text your issues on WhatsApp and then we'll be able to capture them.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. I hope that for those of you that are going to reach Teopista, it is for purposes of the Youth Manifesto. But let's go ahead with
manifesto.
you. No, not another manifesto. So, Honorable, coming back to you, and we want to now look at the other areas. Education. One of the things that the pandemic has shattered is the education sector. We have closed 3 times now, indefinitely, then we schedule, then we close again, and now we are wondering whether we should just abandon the year. But in the 5 years of office, do you feel like we have improved on education, which is a critical part of our mass number of students and youth generally in this country?
You know, when you talk of education and improvement in the areas of education, it's a wide area. So I don't know the specific area of improvement you want me to comment on.
Well, we can talk about access, we can talk about the quality of education, we can also talk about the adoption of ICT, which is the big thing now in
When you talk about access, for instance, you all know that Uganda is implementing a UPE program and
since 1996.
Yes, and USE, and many of the young people here are could be products of that.
Okay.
And so when you talk about access, you say relatively, at least everybody has been able to at least step in a class.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that the intention, Honorable? Because many drop out before P7, even more before senior 6.
That's where I was coming to. Although stepping into the classroom may not necessarily mean achieving education. So, and that is where a majority of Ugandan young people are. Quite a number of them, I don't know whether because I come from a rural district, but a number of children drop out from school from P5.
Okay.
When you go to a school, a sample school in a rural district of Uganda, you'll find P1, P2, P3, P4. They're relatively a lot.
Okay.
When you go to after 5 years, you go back, you'll find the one who you had found in P1, you expect to be in P5. Count the number, you'll find less than a quarter of the number you had found 5 years ago. So
in UPE schools.
that leaves a lot to be desired in terms of the access. And in terms of quality, really, a lot more needs to be improved. I would really say that unless someone has money in this country to access a good private school, you know, most of the children who are going to USE and UPE schools are not accessing education.
Great.
They are just going to school,
yes,
but they are not accessing education.
Honorable,
that's one thing
and I think
confirm.
the President agreed with you in 2018 when he ordered for a review of UPE as it is.
Yes.
But you've also mentioned the important point of access. Do you think that UPE should be abandoned generally so that people who are going to school pay their due and then receive education which is worth their money?
I wouldn't want to say so. I really want to think and believe that Uganda has enough money to put, if only they had the political will, we would put in money in the areas of education and health of this country. And the money we have in Uganda, the taxes that we raise, is enough to furnish all the educational institutions of this country, beginning from the early childhood level up to university or wherever. We are able to put in enough money and refurbish the schools and restock the libraries, put in whatever we need in the laboratories, recruit all the teachers and staff that we require on government.
So, Honorable,
so the question of saying we should stop UPE when we have already made Ugandans aware that they should access education, and other countries who are implementing the same are doing it better than us, is not a question.
Great. So let's stay there for a moment, because even for the private schools, for the private universities, the organizations like Uwezo that research education in this country and East Africa still insist that the quality output that we're putting out into the market below the standard. Do you think, therefore, that perhaps it's not just a question of access, it's not even a question of, it might be a general problem in this country, we can't educate people?
It is a holistic problem. Experts have told you, we have challenges with our curriculum. Definitely, you know that we are still continuing with the colonial
well, we have now tried to change it. Yes.
We are trying to change it, but even the process of changing it, you know how we,
I don't know, but you might tell
Remember, when they introduced the proposal to change the curriculum and so on, and a lot of other things in the areas of education, you remember how government came and mentioned to Parliament that we are training, we are selecting 3 teachers from a school to come and help in the development of the curriculum.
Yes.
Remember, they left out all government school teachers. Remember, they are selecting only 3 teachers per school, not all schools. And remember, the head teachers are not brought on board.
So the process is not inclusive enough?
No, it is not. It is not. Actually, what will come out will be even worse than what
before we go to what goes on next for the young people now, Theophista, I'll take a few questions. 2 from the audience, and I'll start with the lady here very quickly.
Thank you very much, Jacob. My name is Paulina Chanowin, and mine is a comment. And I just want to add on what Theophista was saying and what the Honorable Member was also saying, is that the government already knows the issues of the youth. They know the unemployment, they know the issue of education, they know that the education is doing nothing because many of the people are unemployed because of the education system. So as the youth, what do we do is what I am asking. What do you do as a youth? Vote the government out. We have, how long have they been here? If they've been here for all these years and they are not able to handle our issues, why do we allow them to come to us and then during campaign give you some little money here and there, and then you get excited and you vote them back? Say no. 2021 is coming. Let us say no to these people and let us vote them out. We should not be scared of trying new people. We should just step in there and say, no, we are tired and we are tired. And I think that is part of the participation that she was also talking about. So the youth have to come out and participate. Because if you sit down and don't vote and say the Honorable will go and represent my voice when you don't vote, you are not helping her. You have to participate, and how? By voting.
So if you vote the government out, do you therefore build more schools? Are you guaranteed?
No, you don't have to build no schools, and then you say, let's work with the new government, and we try to present our issues and say, these are our issues. The former failed, and this is how we want to move out. And maybe then they will, because we cannot handle and be scared and say, what if the other one also comes and they don't and they don't? We have to just try.
So young people must respond with action.
They must respond. We should act, and young people should stop being cowards, Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have the gentleman to the extreme left.
Yes, thank you. My name is Okane Justin. I'm still an A-level student. My question goes to our auntie in white. she talks something about youth employment and mentioned about football.
Yes.
But in Uganda, you'll find out that there are like 40 football clubs recognized, of which is in 2 leagues, Premier League and the Super League. So, and there are other leagues down there, the regionals, what down there. And I'm also in a football club in Gulu. So where you will find out that we, the football players, we have to contribute like 5K to what? For us to play a league or a cup, yeah. A cup or league, yeah.
So you don't want to pay anything to play football?
Now they're saying they're going to what? And there's nothing we are receiving back except the trophy.
Okay. Thank you. But do you feel like when you pay that money, you get value for money? Do you get something that makes you feel like it's still worth going on with?
Yeah, we should get like some promotion. At least they try to show us, though in some part of Uganda, although it's not that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take the next question. There's one more question at the back.
Yes, Bwanika once here again. Honorable talked of the bill that is being discussed upon about the minimum wage. Well, for the past years, we have had that bill being discussed upon, the bill of minimum wage. Up to now, is it still being discussed upon? Because time is growing, money is it called fluctuating? Is like depreciating. The value of Ugandan shillings is depreciating. Okay. So up to when are they going to discuss upon that minimum wage when also the value of money is depreciating day by day? All right.
Yes. Thank you. So maybe the minimum wage should be in dollars, which is the standard.
Better.
Oh, okay. And you're patriotic, I assume.
Thank you. What I mean by that is maybe they should because why I'm patriotic so much. I love my country very much.
Okay, Bwanika, thank you so much. let me come back to the panel so we can close this. They say we now should vote, and Justin also mentioned the necessity, Tropista, that we are involved in these things, but there is no sort of benefit. You are saying sports, we are now in sports, but we are paying money. Are there any ways that you track success for these manifestos that you bring up? Or if in the future, like you say, there is one, is there a mechanism for tracking success that we can say, we created this number of jobs, we created this number of stadiums, we created this number of artists, and they got this much access?
Okay, thank you so very much, and thank you for that question. For the National Youth Manifesto, we have a political document. So this becomes a political document, but then we go aside and develop what we call a technical manifesto that has even indicators on how we measure success. So we have some reports on what we have achieved. Although we feel like the challenge that we have is us accessing the data is a challenge. Accessing the data across government agencies is a challenge and a problem, and that is something we need to address as a country.
So why is that a challenge if you consulted people, if you consulted young people and they gave you how they feel this should be addressed? How did you go back to them and get voices from them?
From the young people.
About what they now feel about the same things 5 years later.
Yes, that is what we are actually doing. So when we are developing the manifesto for 2021 for the next 5 years, is that we are also evaluating the previous manifesto to see what it is that we achieved in terms of going to the young people. But then definitely, if you ask the young people, then you definitely need to get some data from government. In the first place, you need data from government so that you assess it on how young people are reacting towards the data. So that is the challenge that we have. And then for the sports, let me respond to the sports bit of it. Yeah, in seconds. So the reason as to why you're not getting what you should get from that is because the whole sports infrastructure in the country is not taken seriously. it is not taken seriously.
But it's a job of those that requested that it's taken seriously to make sure it's taken seriously.
Yes.
So are you saying you've failed?
No, I'm not saying we've failed. It's that we have recognized it. But if we are to achieve, then we don't have to work as just a few people, like she said.
Okay.
We need to work together as young people. We have the numbers. We are the majority. But what are we getting from our numbers?
Okay.
That
Thank
means
you,
we are doing
Topista.
things wrongly.
Thank you, Topista.
Yeah.
Honorable, to come to you, and what she's ended with here is exactly what Brenda Binta is saying on Facebook. There's someone who has to implement the policies, and that's the government. They have suggested here, Pauline, that we should vote them out in case they're not working. Honorable, in the event that the government returns and we have not voted them out, what is the way forward for these things that keep recurring in your way forward address?
You see, like others have said, at least I've heard 2 people speak about it. Young people have all the powers in their hands to do everything because first of all, they are the majority in this country. If only they could get serious and really stand up to demand what belongs to them.
So far they are unserious.
So no, I really want to partly say so.
Okay.
Like one of them mentioned, and it came from them, that when it comes to campaign times, we get around politicians, we carry their word, we are on their bandwagons, we are shouting their names and so on.
Yes.
You are given some pennies and so on. The moment elections are over, we forget about what we really want.
Okay.
So if only young people could be consistent and demand from government, not only government, but all the leaders that they send to power, whether from LC1 up to president. It is upon them to be consistent and put across their issues and stick to it and really be serious on it.
Thank you.
You don't need to be like when you are in it, you are trying to struggle, you are putting across your issues, then someone backs at you and you withdraw. No, it's so important that you are consistent and then you achieve until you achieve what you want.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, our time is never enough here on Face the Citizens, as many as the voices of young people in this country. So we have a challenge with time here. So we will leave it here for today on Face the Citizens. Until next time, please visit our Facebook page, Face the Citizens. Leave your comments there. You can watch this again there. But also, be one that is going to change your country by acting. The panel agrees, the audience agrees. We think you should agree too. Good night.